Hello and welcome to Inside China Auto. Today on the channel we're going to be getting behind the wheel of the big bad boy of Chinese petrol-engined SUVs. It is of course the unmistakable GAC GS8. Look at the presence on this thing. It's absolutely mammoth. Vertically stacked headlamps, acres of chrome, a grille that looks like it could eat you alive. But the question is it as intimidating as it looks, or is it really just a big soft pussycat? Let's find out in today's video. Okay, as ever, let's start at the front because we have got a lot to unpack here at the front of this car, starting with this absolutely menacing grille. It's huge. It must be about 1 meter at least from corner to corner. But you'll see here in the details, we've got fins that are diamond shaped in the grille. That reinforces GAC's diamond cut design philosophy, which you can see in all of the really sharp creases and angular shapes all across this car. One thing I really like are these double stacked, vertically stacked headlamps with individual light units in. Let me show you a party trick. Let's unlock this. Check out what happens here. Look at that. These crystal light units look really ace. They open up like Iron Man's mask. Really, really funky. Down here at the bottom, you've got, of course, acres of chrome, because why not? Why would you not want to make a statement in a car like this? And also down here, you'll see there are a couple of sensors on either side. These are for the level 2 autonomous driving. But what a face, what a distinctive front end. Looking at the side of the GS8, you'll see that this is really big boy again. Statement presence, big slab-sided doors, super sharp creases along the waistline, around the arches here, and also down there at the bottom. You've got more of that shiny chrome and glitz with Master in here to show that it's the Master version. Got more chrome on the mirrors, more chrome alongside, and even more chrome on the roof rails. It's really quite imposing. Big windows though, so great visibility in this. Door handles are flush, again with a bit more chrome, why not? Down the back here, we've got extra bit of chiseled detail where the chrome meets the larger D-pillar towards the back. A really squared off shoulder back here as well. And down the side, we have 20-inch alloys, diamond cut, two-tone. They really fill the arches and really build upon the stature of this vehicle. Now the back of the GS8, we again have got, of course, very slab-sided rear, wrap-around rear window, very square, accentuated shoulders. Again, if I unlock the car, show you a little bit of detail in these lamps, bit of a light signature going on here, and sort of a jewel-like effect there in these vertically stacked lamp units. A lot of chrome along the bottom above what's obviously a fake diffuser, and this time the exhaust pipes are real. You can see them there in the hole. This car is a hybrid. It's not a plug-in hybrid, so it comes with the self-recharging style. Whether you can call that a hybrid or not is up to you. We've also got here an electric trunk, which you open by pressing the button there. As I mentioned earlier, this is the 7-seat version. That's why it looks like we've got less boot room in here. So there's a little bit of space there. Now there's a set of buttons here on the side. You can press both of those to flip open, flip forward the middle row seats. And if you press the switches behind those, you can lower the third row seats totally flat into the floor to give you a totally flat load area. The second row are just folded forwards, so the load area does go up from there. But you've got a really cavernous boot space in there, as well as a bit of extra space here with your tyre jack and your hazard warning triangle as well. Inside the GS8, you get all the glitz and glamour that you might expect from the outside of the car. You don't get all of the metal feel. So this is plastic, although it looks slightly sort of pearlescent and a little bit metallic on there. There are more plastics on there, but you've got pretty soft materials everywhere. You've got sort of imitation leather stitching up there on the dashboard, but you've got leather around here, all on the center console and the doors. You've got that diamond print on the seats. The seats are big and comfy with big shoulder supports in there as well. These are quite comfortable, and they come with heating and cooling, accessible via the bottom button there on the screen. This is the same 15-inch screen that you'll get in the other GAC cars, running on the same system, so it's fairly quick. It's not super amazing software or anything like that, but it's got all the things that you need, your music, your radio, and your car functions. You get on this car a sport mode, eco mode, and comfort mode, and as I mentioned, it's also a hybrid, so you can put it into EV only mode as long as you're below a certain speed, probably 30 or 40 kilometers per hour. It will kick into petrol mode once you get over that. That's complemented by a large screen here in front of the driver, about 12 inches. Gives you a decent amount of information on there. Looks quite classy. Got a gauge for eco driving. If you put your foot down a bit further, it'll go into power. When you lift off and get regeneration, it'll go into charge mode. Obviously shows your music on there, also some sat-nav instructions and things like that. And if that wasn't enough, you also get a heads-up display in front of you, a really large one, where again you get your speed, your drive mode, you get your adaptive cruise control information on there as well, and you get your sat-nav information, which comes in the form of some kind of really cool animated chevrons to tell you when to turn left and when to turn right. Again, we've got little bits of chrome and chints everywhere. Weirdly, we don't get metal grates on the speakers, which is something I'd kind of expect, given all the shininess. In the center console here, you've got your ventilation underneath the screen. No manual controls except for auto and window demist. You've got a wireless charger in the center and a bit of a space there just to leave a phone. Twin cup holders in the middle here. Rather stubby little gear lever with some diamond patterning in. That's probably not as fancy as it could be, to be honest. Metal start-stop button. Dual lid cubby hole in the center, and more space under the dashboard there with USB slots on both sides. Steering wheel is fairly funky. Not as funky as that in the MQ though. You don't get a flat bottom on this one, so the third spoke is a little bit different. You get a few less buttons as well, but a little bit more chrome. And of course you can control your adaptive cruise control, speak to the car, and volume, things like that on here. And it's reach and rake adjustable. The seats are also highly adjustable, so very easy to get a comfortable position. And as I mentioned, you get heating and ventilation on these front seats. So kind of premium, feels premium, but maybe, you know, a few areas that could be a bit shinier, let's say. Okay, climbing into the back seat, let's see how much room we have here. Well, more than enough. You may be wondering why I'm so laid back. Well, one, because I can, but two, because you have angle adjustment here on the back seat. So you can adjust your angle with a handle down the side. That, of course, is also part of how to get into the third row, which I'll show you in a minute. But back here, we've got the same stuff. We've got dual speakers in the doors. We've got some individual vents up here in the roof. Down the middle, we do have tri-zone climate control in here. So we've got a little digital screen where we can adjust the temperatures in the back. It's the outside temperature there. You can see it's 35 degrees. It's pretty hot today. Dual USB slots down there. Bit of chrome on the back of the chairs. But loads of space, and that's actually quite a long base cushion. So loads of support under your thighs. Get a little armrest with a couple of cup holders in there, loads of light from the panoramic roof. So backseat customers are well catered for. Now let's try and do this in a graceful way. So what I'm going to do is climb out of the car, and first I'll flip down the base and then slide this bench forwards, and I'm going to climb into the back. Okay, so what's it like in the third row? Well, with that chair down, I've actually got plenty of space, just not so much support under my legs. But if I try and slide in behind this chair here, I've adjusted the angle slightly, so I've got enough room for my knees, not necessarily enough room for my giant feet. You can electronically adjust the angle of this back row on both sides. You do get cup holders, but I'd say it's definitely more a space for children. So we're in the GS8 out on the road, and what is it like to drive? Well, I have to say, the first word that comes to mind is probably refined, which is not a word I expected to use given that we have a petrol engine up at the front there. But I think the way that it combines, because as I said earlier, this is a hybrid, the way that it combines with the electric motor actually makes for a really smooth ride. I think GAC's partnership with Toyota, who of course have made a bit of a name for themselves in mild hybrids, makes this a very comfortable and quiet car. It comes with a 2-litre engine in the version that we're using. They all come with a 2-litre engine, actually, including the hybrids and the non-hybrids. 2-litre hybrid engine in this one. That means that you get 187 horsepower and 320 Newton meters of torque from the petrol engine. From the electric motor, you get 180 horsepower, I believe that's 140 kilowatts, and 270 Newton meters of torque, which combines to make 590 Newton meters of torque. I believe they power the rear wheels, so where you've got a 2-wheel drive version, you can get a 4-wheel drive version as well, in both hybrid and non-hybrid forms. This one has the best fuel consumption of the lot, so this one does as little as 5.3 litres per 100 kilometres on the NEDC cycle, and obviously the hybrid engines are the best performing in that respect. When you're driving on EV mode, of course, it's really quiet and nice and refined. When the engine kicks in, unless you really stamp it down, which you only really hear the revs, which is what you'd expect to hear from an engine, you actually don't hear the engine kick in. It really is that seamless, and the interior is very peaceful, so clearly any noise that's going on in the front there has been really well sound deadened. As for ride and handling, well, it handles exactly as you would expect a big cushy SUV to handle. It soaks up pretty much everything except the very worst bumps, and even then you only get a bit of a kick. So it really is composed. It's actually surprisingly good at handling as well. It doesn't feel super heavy. I believe it's about 2.1 tons, depending on which mode you get. I think obviously the hybrid modes are a bit heavier, but 2.1 tons, so it is a big beast, which does make it a little bit wieldy to drive on the road and be sure of exactly the space that you're in. It's actually just over, I think it's 5 meters long, so it's a pretty long car as well, but very spacious inside, and you get 7 people in here. But yeah, it handles quite well actually. The steering is obviously softer in eco mode. It does gain weight when you put it into sport mode, but it's not totally dead. I mean, it's very comfortable. It doesn't feel like a heavy car to steer. So obviously the power steering is doing its job very well there, but it is comfortable. It's very smooth to drive, and yeah, I mean, I can't complain. It certainly feels like a very premium driving experience. It's got good equipment lists as well, good equipment levels. You've got the heads-up display, which is really useful when you're driving. You've got 360-degree camera, which you can view in 2D or 3D mode, and that's very effective. The ADAS level 2 system is adaptive cruise control, lane keep and assist. They both work really well. I found that on all of the GAC and Ion cars. They're very effective in most use cases. Obviously some people might like to have level 3. As I mentioned, you get 3 different modes of driving. Fortunately, I'm about to drive into a traffic jam, so I'm not going to get to show you the sport mode. As I said though, you do hear the revs, but it's very, petrol revs. It's kind of quite high revving. Not aggressive though, not heavy, not clunky. It's a smooth engine. It does come with this mega wave power unit on the engine. That is some GAC technology. I will have to leave someone else to describe what that does exactly, but it does make for a very effective car that is easy to drive given the size of it. Prices for the GS8, I'll show you them all on the screen in a moment, but they start at 186,800 RMB, which is actually very low because the MQ that we drove, which I would say is 1 or 2 categories smaller than this, start at about 110,000 if I remember correctly, which means that it's actually not a massive leap to get into a car of this size. I believe that's probably something about 30 to 35,000 US dollars, which means you get a lot of car for that money, especially here in China. Okay, so that's it for our time with the GS8. And is it the big aggressive beast that it looks like, or is it actually a big pussycat? I think it's actually a big pussycat. It's very refined, despite the fact that it's got old technology in it, an internal combustion engine. The way it combines with the motor and the battery is actually very seamless and very refined. Also, when the engine kicks in by itself, you don't really hear it. It's kind of seamless. It's very well soundproofed inside there. The interior experience is also quite premium, so it's very spacious inside. You get a decent equipment list. The feel, the cabin ambience the quietness inside and the ride all feel as premium as you might expect for a big SUV like this. And for a family of 7, there's certainly plenty of space in there and a lot to like about it. The thing that might do it for most people is going to be the design. It's clearly very distinctive. It's a bit divisive. Maybe some people don't like it. I personally do. I think it's quite a bit of aggression and a bit of bling in the middle of a sea of everyone being the same. But leave it up to you. I probably would go for an electric vehicle, but if I was in the market for a big petrol car that was a hybrid, an SUV like this, I would definitely be considering this car. I think it's actually quite cool and good value for money as well. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.